On this week's Black Bull podcast, we got Magic Cole.
Hello.
So Magic Cole has a mask on for everyone who listens and doesn't see that he what he actually looks like. What is that, a clown mask or what is that?
It was a baby mask.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it has felt over the top of it.
Oh, it felt that's all right.
It looks like Casper a little bit.
Oh yeah, it does look
Yeah.
like Casper. So Magical, you've been on the scene since like what, 2013?
I started doing stickers and stuff when I first moved here for school in 2010.
Yeah, I went like deep on your Instagram and I like noticed that like a lot of people, you start off with the U.S. Postal Service things, some drawings, and then throughout time you got more digital, and now you do some really cool looking canvas prints and some rather advanced illustrations. Is that a good description?
Yeah. I try to, stay with the stickers here and there and make those. And then, I'm always drawing or painting. I'm never just like sitting down watching a movie or watching The Office. I'm always drawing, painting.
That's probably good. So go ahead and hold up for like the viewers on YouTube what your style is. Yeah, look at that. Oh, man.
It's squishy. I like it.
It is squishy. It's drippy. It's clean, though.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
It's modern.
Yeah, modern. Ooh. So your signature style has been the face with the teeth. That's kind of been like where it all started. What is that true?
Yeah. I knew this dude, Tater, who lives here now from New York, and he kind of introduced me to the 228 stickers. And I moved here and started seeing Scam and Mr. Say around. And then I started, so I had all these stickers, and I was like walking from student housing to AI where I was going to school, just putting them up on my walk.
Yeah. Scam's come in here. He's a friend of ours too. He has a completely different style. His is like so much rougher. Have you met him? Like,
yeah.
There you go.
Known him for probably like since those days.
So when did you migrate from the stickers to more like traditional style artwork? How did that happen?
I think just like slow evolution of wanting to make art that I could sell eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And just, looking up to other artists that I admire and wanting to, just better myself.
Yeah.
Drawing the same character over and over again, it does get old.
Well, it seems like the community here is really with open arms, and they do like to help out anyone they can.
For sure.
Was there anyone in particular who kind of helped guide you through this journey that helped like tune up your aesthetic in any way?
I had definitely like looked up to Mr. Say a lot in the beginning. I think that what I was drawing before I met him and was seeing his stuff was they kind of linked up a little bit, and I still really admire his work. Yeah. And just trying to look at as much art as possible, and going through art school and learning more about design, and I don't know, I think everything really comes into play when I've just kind of been developing what I do over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, when you go to design school, everything is just so traditional, so digital, and you've kind of gone away from that a little bit. I mean, you kind of kept your roots of a more fine art aesthetic, at least. And I don't even know how you did that. I don't know what you call it. The one on the left right there.
Is the splatter
like
kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of like psychedelic splatter one.
Yeah, that's just like spray painted background, and then I watered down acrylic and just like dumped it in the middle and moved it around a little bit, and then hair dryer pushed it around and just did layers and layers of that.
God damn. Yeah, I remember the hairdryer technique. I didn't know anything about the hairdryer technique until I started having artists on here. I didn't even know the thing like McMonsters.
For sure.
You would do it with the ink wash.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep seeing all this new stuff and I get excited about it.
New stuff with old tech?
New stuff, old tech, man. That's what it's all about. We actually have talked about that before, like how some artists really reject technology as we develop as a society. They don't really appreciate it, or they think that it's kind of bullshit in some ways. I mean, have you seen that in some of your circle?
I definitely think there's people out there that are traditionalists and want to, stick to the old ways or whatnot. But, you have different tools if you want to experiment and try to use them and combine them with other tools. And,
it's one of them. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
I don't think it should be looked down upon at all.
Yeah. It's one of the most interesting things about the current our age is what people do or don't do with technology and like people's attitudes on it. And because everyone's making dope art and they're making it in all kinds of different ways. It's really interesting to see the direction they go.
Yeah. I mean, I always question like what's next with it, because I think I was talking to RX about it, how even like past what street art is right now, how he gets excited when he sees people playing with like traffic signs and doing like manipulating those. And they might even try to start hacking just normal banner ads.
Yeah.
Because everything's so digital now. I mean, that could be where street art goes.
For sure.
Have you seen any elements of experimentation with mediums aside from your traditional like sticker slaps or sprays?
Not personally, but I mean, with all this like augmented reality stuff that's coming out, I'm sure there can be, there's ways for people to, I don't know how you would do that. It's not my thing, but I'm sure it's out there. Yeah.
Opportunity for sure. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about your process as a whole. Like when you get a canvas, you do have the consistent theme of like the head.
Yeah.
What do you gravitate towards to make your piece? Like what influences it, or like what happens in your life that you're like, all right, this is going to be the theme of this one?
I rarely I have a basic idea sometimes of what I want to do, but mostly just like I would start out with just like this eye, and then kind of just start drawing from there. With no like real idea of what I want to have at the end.
Yeah, I get that vibe a little bit.
Yeah,
specifically when I look at that one again, the splatter with the teeth. There's no bottom of the face, right? There's just the teeth, and that to me like looks like something that was decided on the spot.
Yeah, and
I like it.
This one was like completely random, just like sketching, and then I started seeing shapes to go together, and just kind of came out as like this weird thing. Like I don't really have any explanation to what's going on or what it is.
But the two canvases back there, those kind of are within a similar color palette. Like and then you have some of the warmer ones over here where it's the yellows and the reds. I mean, that almost seems seasonal to me in a weird way, where, I mean, obviously yellows and reds, that's a very summer warm kind of thing. But then as you go into like winter and spring, that's where those pop up.
Yeah.
Am I correct on this?
I don't know. It could be a thing that happens.
Yeah. It's like a Picasso blue phase for a second, and then you like snap out of it, and then you're in like the neon pinks and blues.
Yeah. I don't know. I really just usually don't have any rhyme or reason to things. Like I've been wanting to incorporate more like lettering and type into work. And like that guy. I don't know.
Hold it up a little bit. Yeah. Is that just ink?
Yeah, that's Micron.
All of it?
Yeah.
Let me see this shit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I straight up thought there was like graphite on this because your stippling is very effective.
Yeah. The hairs.
Yeah.
I love the hairs on this guy.
Yeah, for everyone who's looking in, that's it.
You can't see the hairs from that far.
Yeah, and
definitely can't see the hairs on that.
When I don't know, I'll go from like, something like that's more detailed to, something that's more just like plain lines and just colors.
I mean, you have a very like juxtaposed. I mean, I feel like they would be picking up your stuff like pretty quick, like that style. I mean, have you had success in any kind of paid illustration for like a rapper or something? I mean,
I
just
did
see that a lot.
I did a complete album design for my buddies in And, local Portland band here. And that was a lot of fun and a lot of work. But other than that, not really. I mean, I have interviewed at, try to keep this nice, a company, and they liked my artwork, and it was for a design position. And now they're selling a product that is covered in like my style of eyes.
Oh, damn.
Like I'll do like a complete, piece that is just all eyes. And
Really?
and they had mentioned that in the interview, and
Wait,
now
what do you
they
mean
have
they
a
mentioned
product
it?
that's really similar to that.
Oh,
And
really?
like,
So they kind of hinted. Oh,
yeah.
really?
But
I mean, is there? God damn. I mean, I feel like it's hard to argue. Because okay, RX had a similar thing where he found a company that was straight up like ripping off his
yeah, that was like
blatant.
straight up. Yeah.
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 But they're just
That's
doing
cool.
something that's more influenced by your style, and not
Yeah.
necessarily stealing.
Yeah, it was definitely like they
stealing.
could have just like hired another artist to come up with that design,
Yeah.
or like if they already had somebody in house, be like, hey, make this your own or something. But I don't know.
Well, okay, yeah. As someone who, and I always have to keep remembering, you went to design school. Like you're in such a digital world, but you stick to the analog style illustration and painting. Like, why don't you just go full digital?
I mean, I do. I like play with the Wacom every once in a while, but I don't know, just using my hand and having the paper there, or, canvas, it's just, I get more satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, it's just like,
And I haven't messed around with like drawing on an iPad yet or anything, if that might feel a little bit different to me and kind of like bridge that gap. I don't really like drawing on the Wacom and then looking up at the, the screen. It's kind of,
yeah,
took a while to get used to, but
it totally takes time to get used to, and you almost kind of have to relearn how to draw, because then you're at the mercy of like, oh, is my brush stroke in Illustrator have enough pressure variation, and you kind of like tune those before you start using it. And then if you change the strokes, by the way, it looks really funny when you just like talking to you with it. Like he's kind of like tilting his head back, and it's like Casper's just screaming.
Yeah.
the eyes
for
I
sure
can
the-
see through are really small. So
Yeah, they're really tiny. I was wondering that. I was like, good on you for being able to see. This is definitely one of the goofiest masks that we've had to look at. It's awesome.
yeah, I mean, I had the normal ski mask, but I thought, this might be something a little bit more fun.
No, I like it. I think it's good, man. I appreciate it. Where was I going with that thought? Oh, just keeping it. Okay, we were talking before the podcast a little bit about how, like, on your free time, you like to build bikes.
Yeah.
I think it's that same satisfaction, because bikes, they're really satisfying to build, and they're not overly complicated. It's not like a motorcycle where there's so many parts and you unplug one thing and it's not going to work. It's like, no, there's a crank, there's a sprocket, there's a chain, and a pedal. You know what I mean? Like, and that is satisfying in and of itself. And I think that is exactly the same reason why you do art the way you do it.
Yeah. I mean, in bikes like that, everyone I built, even though they may be similar, it's still, I take it for a ride before I, get rid of it. And they all feel different, because they're all different frame sizes or dimensions, geometry.
So are the bikes you build, are they all drippy and got crazy teeth on them?
No, not yet.
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
You
I
should-
feel like if I had like a plotter, I could do, a drippy paint job and
a plotter? What's
like
a plotter?
like a digital, like a vinyl sticker plotter, so I could, cut out all the,
Yeah.
and do like layers of paint, and yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be really cool. I've always kind of been curious about like, what is it, like powder coating and airbrushing, just so you can paint on things like that and have it stay better than just like a normal spray paint job, and a little more versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just goals. Speaking of goals, what are you trying to do with your artwork now? Now that you're doing, I've noticed you've been experimenting with just like, are you painting on wood too, and like cutting that out, or with,
Yeah. So, my parents live on property up in Washington, and they cut firewood to heat the house off the property, and they'll run into these maple chunks where the grain of the wood is so twisted up that like swinging an axe to cut it into, you know, chunks to fit inside the fireplace, it just, you can't cut it. Like you can't split it apart.
Huh.
So he set those aside, and he used the chainsaw to cut them into kind of like slabs, and then ran it through a planer enough to get it smooth, and then I sanded it down, and it's called like tiger stripe maple, and
Wow.
it has that name because once you have it like sanded down and like looking nice, it kind of has this like weird like shimmery holographic effect to it, just from the way that the grain is. Like they use it like those really nice wooden guitars that have like the weird, like, I don't know. It's expensive wood. People buy it up, and so I just kind of like made these different pieces and slowly been painting on them. Kind of have to convince myself to paint those ones since I put so much work into just getting them ready.
Right. Yeah. So you get these like super rare, expensive pieces of wood, and you kind of sand them down and maybe finish them a little bit.
Yeah, it's some sort of like teak oil or something.
And then you do a painting on it.
Yeah.
But you don't paint the whole thing, so you can still kind of see the stripes. And
Yeah,
the tiger
because
stripes.
I think that part's cool, and
Yeah, it
that
definitely
show
adds to
through.
the appeal of it for sure.
Yeah.
God, the details, man, that's cool.
That is cool.
When you know the details behind it.
Yeah, I made a video, kind of a process walking through how that was done.
Yeah, you do have a YouTube channel. I noticed that too.
Yeah, an unsuccessful one, but
Dude, there's not many successful ones out there, so I think we're all trying to work on that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, just on social media in general, you're doing all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's good to post that process stuff. I mean, that's what McMonster did. That's like, I think how he blew up, you know, was
for sure.
His time lapses.
He was posting those time lapses. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I support that. I don't know. I mean, social media, I mean, let's talk about that. Like, even if you have something that you don't think is successful, there's still people that subscribe to it and then they gain something from it, right?
For sure.
I mean, I don't know. We've had some people reach out recently just for like the podcast, and I don't even think like this isn't like a big podcast by any means, but there is a community of people that it does help.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's been, I don't know, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there's been art podcasts that have been super successful and then just drop off and never put out another episode. And it's just like leaves, I don't know. I feel like I'm left hanging just because it was something that I always really looked forward to.
Yeah, it's like there was no closure in the breakup.
Yeah.
That's real, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So I think this is definitely a good outlet for, you know, other artists to hear artists talk. I know a lot of artists are kind of secluded and don't talk much, you know, not very outgoing, kind of.
that's really true. And do you think that, and I wouldn't say it's like an outgoing thing, but do you think that a lot of like street artists that's kind of their thing, how they don't want to show face, they don't always want to be like in a limelight, but they want their artwork to be out there?
Yeah. I mean, I started not wanting to like have my face out on the internet or related to my art because I was basically just doing street art and stickers and whatnot. And now that social media is like, that was back in like the Flickr days.
Yeah.
And now that Instagram is such a huge thing, I really don't like, more than just like now that street art is more accepted than it was, I don't know, like 8-10 years ago. There's not like a graffiti abatement coming, trying to shut down our shows or figure out who's who and whatnot. That I feel like some people on the internet who, I don't know, it's kind of like a shitty thing to say, but there's like hot girls on the internet that like make shitty art and then they pose next to it.
Oh my God.
And then they get, you know, thousands of likes.
I don't think that's shitty to say at all, man. I think I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of people that follow artists and support artists for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And
well, I mean, a reason's a reason. If that's your reason to like someone, then that's your reason. I mean, I feel like I saw that with like DJs too, man. Like when hot girls would be DJs, and all of a sudden like models were DJing. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, if you can get into that hustle and that works for you, then, I'm not one to really, put down on that. But for me, I'd rather just show my art and that not be that connected to it as like a face of my art. I don't want it to be a focus point of it at all.
I like that. I like what you're saying. How do you feel about, because you mentioned how like street art is kind of going into a mainstream thing.
Yeah.
That it kind of baffles my mind. And
Yeah.
I don't know how a lot of people are gonna react to it. Like a lot of street artists who are true to street art, like as it enters the mainstream, and like when galleries, like what happens when too many galleries start taking on shows, and then like the really not authentic street artists start rising up. Is that gonna rustle people's jimmies? I think obviously it will.
Yeah, I mean, some people, I guess, but I'm okay with people just being able to do what they want to do, and if other people support it, then that's up to them. I know, like, kind of thinking on that, like back when the Banksy documentary came out, and then the Mr. Brainwash thing happened, and I was like, oh man, look at all those silly people showing up for this stupid Mr. Brainwash guy.
Yeah.
And then I find him on Instagram. He still has like a huge following.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this was probably years ago, but
if anything, that might have made him more famous.
Yeah.
God, he was such a piece of shit, man.
I don't know. I don't know. Art's a weird thing, and it's definitely like street art, and the whole culture's more mainstream. I mean, there's like Art Basel is like super huge every year, and like tons of like mural artists go down there and do that. And I don't know. If you can get into that and do art for Coachella or any of those like other avenues, I don't know. I think you should go for it if you have the opportunity. Might as well.
Dude, and that's the debate. It's like, at what point are you making a living, paying your bills, and at what point are you being a sellout per se?
Yeah.
But then again, some people, like, that's their goal.
Totally.
Right? Like a lot of times people do just want to make that money and then get out.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they have the right intention behind it and are still like making art that they want to make.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, like at what point are you losing your dignity as an artist, and at what point are you just making a living?
Yeah.
I mean, when does that happen?
I think there's a formula to it. I mean, I think people make art for themselves. People make art to make money, and people do both. And I think the people who do both are ones that, they have put the effort in to make the stuff that really inspires them. Like, you make something, you feel really good about it. And you're like, okay, this is what I wanted to create, and it makes me feel really good to do it. And I know it's good, but they do it prolifically. And the more they do it, the more chance there is for someone else to see it and be like, oh shit, that one I really, really like.
Yeah.
And, I know, at least from the music side, that's what a lot of people do. And I think Timbaland said, like, he was talking about like, how do you make a hit? And it's like, it doesn't matter unless it's a hit to you. And you want to keep making as many things that are hits to you as possible, because you don't know what's going to be a hit to other people most of the time. And, you might in the process of trying to make a hit for yourself, make something that you're like, I don't feel that great about this, but you put it out there anyways. And then that blows up.
Yeah. I was listening to this conversation with Rick Rubin and one of the members of the Roots. And I can't remember which one it was, but he was like studying like one of the early Ramones albums. And he was fascinated by how big and famous some of those songs were and how short they were, because they were like less than 2 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, how can this song be less than 2 minutes and just like this? It's like expression, like it's like punk rock expression, and that's it. But it like changed the world, and he just studied it. It's just fascinating. I mean, it's sometimes hard to tell, but like what you said, like they liked it. They were like, this isn't that traditional. and there wasn't that much thought into every little thing like it would be with a pop song, but it had the effect of a pop song.
Yeah. That industry's rough now. I mean, you gotta
totally
have
different.
like 150 tracks on a song to make it sound like everything else that's on the radio at this point.
Yeah,
it's fucking
dude.
crazy.
I mean, I don't know how the Ramones recorded back then, but I doubt it was nowhere near what it is now.
Even stuff like most of the stuff we see today from the visual art is still more complex, I feel like, than, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I mean, a lot of stuff you do is like pretty detailed, and it's probably not, advertised as that, or people aren't buying this like, oh, it's so detailed, like that may not be what they're thinking when they buy it or why they like it, but it is. And I wonder if that's just kind of the way art is across all mediums right now. It all needs a little bit more detail than it used to, maybe because everything's been done. And so now you do something that like, sure, that's not the first melty face with cool eyes on it that's ever been drawn, but all the little things that you're doing to make it yours are what's making it popular.
I think that what you're saying is exactly true. It's like, that's also the effect of when you go to a museum and you see a painting in person and you actually see what they did, and it's either a letdown or you have more respect.
Yeah, that's a good point. For sure.
And
sure.
Like actually seeing it like the tangible thing. I mean, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. When I started learning about producing and stuff, I was like, oh my God, producers do everything. Like the artists themselves do nothing compared to the producer. It's not really true, but it's just like the amount of work that the producers do it goes so unsung. These days, producers are getting, their time to shine a little bit. Obviously we've heard of people like Rick Rubin and stuff from a while ago, but I mean, this is the first time the producers have been like hailed, and it's because of EDM.
It really is. Yeah.
But then there's people like Il Angelo who did like or the majority of the Weeknd's famous music, and the ones that Daft Punk didn't do, and
right.
And it's just like, it's cool that people know who he is because of the Weeknd. It's not just about the Weeknd. It's like, wait a minute, this beat is phenomenal, this mix is phenomenal, and then that guy gets a little bit of press. So I think that's kind of cool.
It does seem like, let's just talk about like theory right now. People are attracted by quote unquote vibes. That's what people are like initially drawn to right now. At least that's my opinion. But if you, I'm going to sound so dumb saying this, but like if you bring them in with the vibes and then you retain them with the talent, then you'll be a successful artist.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I think that makes sense. I mean,
I feel like it's something that I want to do more of. It's like, as far as like making videos and stuff for like my art, and like trying to bring some of my personality into what I'm doing, because a lot of what, people are just seeing is just a post on Instagram. And if I feel that people can connect more to the artist if they kind of know a little bit about, what they're about, and kind of, I don't know, just get a little bit of behind the scenes of like who that person is.
Yeah, and everyone nowadays is trying to build up their like community per se. And I think that's like the first step. You put something on YouTube, you like try to strike up a conversation with people, and then if it's engaging enough, people come back.
Yeah.
Or they subscribe. Like and subscribe. That's why everyone says that. Yeah. So I mean, with street art though, I feel like that's you kind of have to stay in the digital realm. I mean, there's people that meet up in person, but it's not. I mean, I guess there's shows. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say there's not big street art meetups, but it's not something that is promoted like per se. I don't know, a DJ meetup. You know what I mean? It's just,
there's definitely like, it's basically just through like, Instagram messages, like, hey, there's this thing, we're meeting at this bar. And those have been pretty cool. I've kind of put together a couple of them a couple years ago, and, great turnouts. I mean, to the point where the way that I had set it up, I could only send out like 10 messages to people. And I just like kind of made a flyer that said, like, I'm only inviting these 10 people, but if you get this invite, then you can invite whoever you want, 10 more people, and just let it spread. And just like, no haters, no beef. We're all here to just like hang out and draw and like cut stickers or whatever. You can stand around if you want. And
so where would you hold it at?
What?
Like, it wouldn't be like a bar. It would be.
It
would be.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that seems risky, man. Right?
Well, I think the first one that I kind of set up was at I'm spacing on the name of it. Right there next to Baby Doll Pizza on Stark. They have art.
Goodfoot, yeah.
And so I knew that it's like, big spot, lots of tables, and we ended up like taking over like that whole corner booth and like multiple tables, and yeah.
That's kind of become a street art hangout.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely help support a lot of people throughout the year, big group shows. And
every time I go in there, I see street artists, and I see the street art up being sold on the walls, and I'm like, oh yeah, like this is kind of like a safe spot. It's good to see that.
Yeah,
that's cool that you do the meetups. I mean, what do you think that the community is missing right now? I mean, that it could benefit from more.
I don't know. Everybody's super nice in the community. Like, if you reach out to somebody, they're willing to help you out in whatever little way that they can. I think just it's more of I would like to see more like murals and stuff. And
I agree. But I think like that transition is happening. Like, we're starting to see more murals around town, and like I fucking love it. And thanks to like Gage out there, Forest for the Trees, like he's doing his part and he's helping organize a lot of that. So I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I just wish like that whole process didn't have to go through an organization. Like, if you could just talk to a building owner and, they say like, yeah, that sounds cool. Will you approve like this design? Not like have to go through all this, like, I don't know, city stuff. And
I didn't know that. I didn't know you had to go through a city to paint a mural.
Well, I mean, that's, as far as I know, that's like what a lot of the Portland Street Art Alliances, like what they're like fighting for space and doing all that stuff.
Well, right, because how would you get the space?
If someone owns the building.
I think it was a Clear Channel thing that they got some law passed that didn't allow unapproved like art over a certain size or something. I don't know exactly how it went down, but there was something that made it like illegal for a building owner to have something painted on the side without it having like approved city stuff. I don't know.
Well, because they consider it graffiti, right? Isn't that kind of why they have to paint over things that are spray paint?
Yeah, they have like 48 hours or something to paint over it.
But then there's like places like interurban where they just have full wall and they say, I don't care. But the city somehow lets that slide by.
I mean, I don't know. And then there's that one wall on Alberta too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like you need, well, you're right. Portland Street Art Alliance has done a lot. But there's still areas that artists should be allowed to collect and kind of paint and do their thing. I love the idea of big ass murals all over the place. I just think it sparks creativity all around.
Yeah.
I think it's a good vibes. You know what I mean? It's good vibes.
Bring more people to Portland.
Yeah, that's the other thing. As you see more money coming into town, do you think that's going to change anything in a negative way with the street art?
It'll bring out of town artists to come paint in our city. I think, and I feel like that's definitely a thing, instead of having, people that live here, decorate their own space.
Yeah, it would be nice to keep it local as long as you can. Damn, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Not that I don't admire, like the Reed one big mural downtown, and like, the other big murals from, crazy artists that come through for the Forest for the Trees. But, it would be cool to have more local artists involved.
So if if a building owner, let's like play that role for a second. If you're a building owner and you want a mural, or people are saying, hey, this is a good space for a mural, you think the best way is to go straight to the artist. So you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to get it approved by the city. I'm just trying to work through this in my brain because
I
I've never even considered this.
Tomas would be more of the person to talk to about that whole process.
So reach out to Portland Street Art Alliance. We should have them on. I feel like we've been saying this for so long.
Yeah.
Dude, we've literally been saying this.
They're so knowledgeable about everything.
Yeah.
That I guess it's more particular to Portland itself, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to every court hearings. I don't know.
Really?
Like, I don't know. They're always, I feel like, in city meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
They're definitely doing it, trying to fight the good fight.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, you should get him on.
All right. I'll get him on. I'll reach out. I'll stop dicking around. I'll get him on. Let's talk a little bit more about your process too. Like, is there anything new techniques that you've kind of discovered recently that you've been implementing into your artwork that that acrylic thing, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, definitely. Just like basic watercolor fills and stuff have been fun recently. Yeah. And
it gets such even coverage. It looks like it's gouache, but it's probably not.
Yeah, this would be like Posca paint pen.
That's a paint pen?
Yeah.
Let me see that. Sorry, I'm always so nervous to touch these things, man.
That's fine.
Fingerprints,
I just threw them in my backpack, so.
Yeah, ridiculous.
You can tell sort of when you get closer, but still, geez.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have to like go over it a couple times, but
with just say what kind of marker?
Posca.
How do you spell that?
Posca.
Posca. Because I know that like with the Copic, like every time you go over the layer, it gets darker every time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what these are both marker, like Prismacolor. Copic.
Yeah. Okay. And but you're saying if you like keep going over it and you totally saturate the paper, that it all just becomes one solid color?
Yeah, eventually, hopefully. I would start using watercolor paper a lot for basically everything as far as my paperwork, and I've really enjoyed it. I mean, the marker goes down on it well, and so does the paint pens or acrylic paint, watercolor, obviously.
And then you do some highlights with like a paint pen.
Yeah, paint pen, gel pen.
Damn, I gotta start getting some of these. I always like playing around. I'm nowhere near with what you guys do, but I just like to experiment because I like to know where you're coming from with this stuff. So I think it's exciting to get your hands on a couple markers and pens and just see what happens. Well, that acrylic shit really blows my mind when I see that.
Yeah, I think that one, I have a couple of other ones that I'm working on right now as far as like playing with the background and everything.
Yeah.
I think that one works so well because whatever spray paint that I had, it came out so glossy. Oh. And with the kind of the matte of the acrylic, it just made like the weird, I don't know, it just really kind of pops in as contrasty and glossy and matte, and I don't know.
Well, yeah, anytime you add like a texture like that, and you there's that juxtaposition of texture, it will make whatever's in the foreground pop out so much more. So I think you're doing a good job. Do you show artwork anywhere? Anything you want to promote about yourself, or?
I haven't been in a show in a while. I just had a bunch of art up at Rudy's on Division, Rudy's Barbershop, which was pretty cool. Never really thought about showing art in a barbershop before, but they reached out to me, and like I went and checked out the space, and people are sitting there getting their hair cut, and there's all this art above the mirrors and everything. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just for people being able to see my art and maybe recognize it more down the road.
Dude,
that was
sure,
a good opportunity.
It's also It's always inspiring to see that. I mean, speaking of that, like, how do you get inspired? What drives you mentally?
Definitely looking at graphic design and other artists, and I've been getting really into like sign painters recently, and
Wait, what do you mean sign painters?
Like basically like all the signs used to be just hand painted signs before there were printers, you know, like big vinyl printers and everything like that. And they use one shot paint and these crazy brushes that hold a bunch of paint and do all these, hand lettering, and just the whole process is really cool. And coming from a art school design background, I want to start incorporating more like fonts and lettering and just like little sayings into my art.
Well, once you take a proper typography class, that shit's ingrained in your brain forever, and you'll recognize that in everything. I think typography adds a lot. It helps out. I mean, but you got to be able to do it right, and that's where the design shit comes into play. So it's cool to see you doing that, man. Anything else you want to talk about? Bring up anything that pisses you off? Try to start beef with anyone? Just now's your chance, man. Yeah.
Not that I can really think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That's
cool. That's good.
Hopefully, one point, RX just had his 10-year show, and that's really like pushed me to want to have my own show.
Hey, there we go.
So
that's good, man. I hope you do it. You gotta let us know when you do, man. Come back on, help you promote it. And
it's a lot of work, and like seeing everything that he has to go through to throw at his show, and I was like, oh man, and like having to spend all this time making work and not sharing it, and this like such a thing that I don't do anymore. I'm like, process shots on Instagram stories and then post it at the end. And
well, dude, the amount of work that you have to be putting out to be able to like still have an active Instagram and have artwork for a show that nobody's seen, like you have to be making so much work. And he did it.
And it's crazy because you have to post stuff,
right?
Because if I don't post something for a couple of days, like I'm constantly losing followers. Like every day I lose like 20 followers. So I have to also gain, to kind of stay at some level. If I'm not posting anything, then I have no traffic coming in and I'm just losing followers and like,
You lose 20 followers a day?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you have like, how many followers do you have?
Like just over 10,000.
So, I mean, when you in relation to that, it's not that much. It's like 1% is like teetering back and forth. And then, but you get quite a bit.
And I didn't realize that until, because you don't get like logistics stuff on Instagram. You get to see that stuff until like you break 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
And which was kind of crazy to see all that and like how posts and stuff affect what, people are engaging in, what people engage in or just pass over is kind of makes you think a lot more about it.
Yeah. Man. That's interesting.
How do you feel about social media as a whole right now?
I hope something new comes out.
Yeah.
Because like I was even just like looking at my big cartel sales over the years, and I had like, I don't know, I think it was like between 2014 and 2016, I had like crazy sales compared to like what I have now going through my site. And I would think that Instagram is, and the way that the algorithm is now, is just like completely hindering artists across the board. And I would love for a new similar app to come out that, is chronological and doesn't like push posts and
but to play devil's advocate on that, it's not a store. Like Instagram isn't necessarily a store. It's supposed to be like just social media as a whole.
Yeah. But
and I hate saying that because like I do think that it should be chronological. I think their algorithms are bullshit. I hate that. But then again, on the other end of the spectrum, do we rely on it so much for personal sales? Should we not have all our eggs in one basket?
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of what you're saying. Like,
yeah, I mean, I
wanna see the
definitely
next thing.
try not to have, I mean, I post, I don't know, on everything but Facebook, I feel like.
Dude, Facebook is, that is like not my audience.
No, I mean, I deleted like my art and personal Facebooks, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. Just because I was like, oh, it was like when election stuff started happening, like 2015. I was just like, this is not for me anymore.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Man.
You see a side of people that that you don't really want to know.
And why are all the worst people the most vocal on Facebook? You know what I mean?
That was the Cambridge Analytica shit. I mean, that was
true.
That was very, very like a result of programming.
Yeah, I watched that doc.
I watched some of it and I turned it off because it's too depressing. And I was I already know the story. I get it.
Oh, was it just kind
Cambridge Analytica
going back on how they like sold all the information, right?
Well, yeah, and they purposely, essentially, boosted a lot of the conservative political ideas, and I made a lot of fake posts, and the details are the confusing part. The overall thing is that they basically socially hacked England and America to probably react the way that they did, and I think they helped push a lot of rumors that weren't true about Hillary Clinton and other shit like that.
Dude, there's another big thing going on, and it just got brought to my attention recently. How I mean, you're vegan. You're probably like, why does this matter? But Google is suppressing all pro meat articles, like how meat is beneficial to diets, how meat, like anything that's pro meat. Yeah. So one of my buddies sent me like this other alternate web browser thing that I don't know, like somehow it like bypasses that, and you would Google the same things and like totally different articles would show up.
Yeah.
Because of the meat thing. Like it's like
That's super weird.
Someone at Google is, I mean, I'm just gonna say they're probably vegan. They're probably really anti-meat.
Yeah.
And they're doing
or someone's paying them.
That too.
Yeah. Google's known to take money for questionable stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Someone's
been doing that for a while.
And like, goddamn, like, come on, Google. Like,
yeah.
Like all we want is just an honest web browser. That's like, you're just I shouldn't say they're just a web browser. They are so much more than just a web browser.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing is like, it's more than a web browser. It's phones and, everything else that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is, and you should just, know that that's a thing. And
But they grown so big, just like how Facebook did, and that's why Zucks was in Congress, because it's influencing America.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely there needs to be some sort of reins on that, as far as like them pushing their own, ideas onto other people.
And this is like such an obvious one with the meat thing. It's like how is that okay? But then again, like they're a business. They're publicly traded. I don't know if that matters. I don't know. I see that, and then I'm like, man, people need to stop doing that shit. Like that can't. There's no authenticity with that. It's just bullshit, and it pisses me off. All right, that was a healthy side tangent. Anyways, you got anything else you want to bring up? Say, it's funny how we like talked about like you want to start beef, and then we talk about diets and veganism.
Talking about beef.
You Google beef. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
No, just can find me online. Website is itsmemagical.com. Check out artwork there, and kind of links to everything else is through there. And just gonna keep making art no matter what, because I have to draw.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming by, man. I love your artwork. You're a chill dude, and your mask is hilarious. So
appreciate you having me.
MAGICAL. Right?
It's me, magical.
Sweet.
All right. And listeners out there, be sure to tell your friends about the podcast, like, subscribe, do all that good, healthy stuff, and go out there and be a cool artist if you are one. I think everyone is deep down inside. So with that being said, bye.
Bye.